There's a woman at every family reunion who is past 70 and somehow reads 10 years younger, with a jawline that photographs clean and eyes that look open at 8 in the evening. The quiet assumption around the buffet table is that a surgeon did it. We have studied women like her for years, and the assumption is usually wrong. But the real explanation is stranger than a clinic. The lifted look almost never comes from one product or one procedure. It comes from a stack of small choices, and today we are walking through the entire stack. Let us begin with the mechanism, because the mechanism is the video. A stranger's eye does not measure your birthday. It measures direction. Makeup artists who work on mature faces describe every face as a map of arrows, and the eye follows those arrows without asking permission. Light sitting high on a cheekbone is an arrow up. A shadow pooling beside the mouth is an arrow down. A brow tail that is drifted, a flat crown of hair, a long, heavy earring swinging beside the jaw, each one casts a small vote on which way the face is moving. A facelift wins because a surgeon physically relocates tissue and rewrites all the arrows at once. The women we are talking about win a slower way. They stack 13 quiet habits that all point in the same direction, and a stranger's eye adds them up before the brain has formed a single, conscious thought. No single habit on today's list will pass for surgery on its own. The stack is what passes, and some of these will surprise you because 2 of them cost nothing at all, and 1 of them has been hanging in your closet the whole time. Let us start where the makeup bag opens. First come the arrows you paint, and blush is the loudest of them. For decades, the standard advice was to smile and dab color on the apples of the cheeks, and on a face in its 30s, that placement sat on firm ground. But the apples drift as collagen thins, and when you smile, apply there, and then relax. The color settles lower than you intended and rides every fold on the way down. Blush placed low is gravity with a tint. The lifted placement starts higher, on top of the cheekbone in line with the outer corner of the eye, blended back toward the temple, so the tail of color points at your hairline instead of your jaw. Makeup artists who specialize in older faces call this drawing the diagonal, and the diagonal is the closest thing a brush can do to what a suture does. Formula matters as much as placement. Powder blushes are usually built on talc and mica, the soft mineral fillers that give a pressed pan its slip, and the same fillers that glide over smooth skin will settle into a crease and photograph as a line by 2 in the afternoon. Cream blush behaves differently because it is built on emollients and flexible film formers, ingredients that move when your face moves instead of cracking where it folds. Jones Road. Miracle Balm in Flushed, tapped on with 2 fingers, is one reliable option, and Rare Beauty's Soft Pinch Liquid Blush works as well, though its pigment load is heavy, so a single small dot covers a full cheek. Whichever jar you choose, the sequence never changes. High on the bone, angled toward the temple, blended until the edge disappears. The color is optional, the direction is not. Blush lifts by adding light and color. Contour lifts by managing shadow. And this is where good intentions go wrong the fastest. A contour swept low along the jaw or blended downward under the cheek repeats the very shadow that time is already painting, and the eye reads the repetition as more descent. Dermatologists describe midlife facial change as volume loss through the midface, which in plain language means the shadows you already own live under the cheek and beside the mouth. Adding pigment to them underlines a sentence you were trying to erase. The corrective placement is short and high. Find the hollow under the cheekbone. Start no lower than the middle of the ear and pull the shade up toward the top of the ear, stopping well before the front of the face. Keep the color cool and muted, a soft taupe, rather than a warm bronzer, because warmth spreads and taupe recedes. A small angled brush and a light hand will beat any sponge at this job, and leave the jawline alone. Painting a dark stripe under a softened jaw only adds weight just where you wanted air. If you take one instruction from this section, take this one. Use less. One short upward stroke of cool shadow, set high, and then walk away from the mirror. Shadow is a knife. Hold it by the handle. That settles where color goes. Now the finish, because texture is the tell that gives most makeup away after 50. A fully matte face flattens the same high points we just spent 2 sections building. Matte formulas lean on absorbent powders like silica and kaolin to drink surface oil, which sounds tidy, and on younger skin it is. But mature skin produces less oil to begin with, so the powder keeps drinking after the oil is gone, and by mid-afternoon the face looks parched, while every fine line stands out in dry relief. Heavy shimmer fails from the opposite direction. Large flake mica and glitter scatter light every which way, and scattered light lands inside texture as often as on top of it, so a frosted cheek can spotlight the very crepe it was meant to distract from. The corridor between those two failures is satin, a finish built on finely milled pearl that reflects light softly and only from the planes where you place it. Think of it as candlelight you can buy in a tube. L'Oreal's True Match, Lumi Glotion, mixed into foundation turns a flat base into a satin one for drugstore money. Charlotte Tilbury's Hollywood Flawless Filter does that job from the department store counter, tapped on the cheekbone, the brow bone, and the top of the chin. Even a plain balm pressed over the cheekbone after powder will wake the light back up. The wear test costs nothing. Walk past a window at 3 in the afternoon and glance sideways at your reflection. If the light sits on the top of your cheek, the finish is working for you. If it sits in the folds beside your mouth, the formula picked the wrong address. Skin should look like skin that sleeps well. That is the entire assignment. Now the arrows you groom, because the frame around a face often votes louder than the face itself, and the frame begins with the brows. Brow hair thins with the decades, and the tail, the outer third, thins first. When that tail fades or drifts low, the eye follows it down, and the whole upper face reads as tired on mornings when you slept 9 hours. The repair is smaller than most tutorials suggest. Brush every hair upward with a clean spoolie, and there is an immediate soft lift where flat hairs used to lie. Fill only the true gaps, using short feathered strokes of a fine pencil 1 shade lighter than your hair, and place the highest point of the arch above the outer edge of the iris, a few millimeters higher than where your hand wants to go. Then set everything with a tinted brow gel, and the gel is the ingredient story here. Brow gels are flexible film formers, light resins that dry clear and hold each hair in its lifted position all day, the same way a light hairspray holds a set. Glossier's boy. Brow adds a little fullness while it holds. Anastasia's clear gel sets like glass without flaking, and the drugstore versions from L'Oreal do the same job for a few dollars. Dermatologists do add one caution. Years of plucking can retire follicles for good, and where the tail is truly gone, a peptide brow serum can sometimes coax dormant hairs back, though the progress is measured in months and honesty matters more than hope. Either way, the finish line looks the same. Tails alive, hairs standing at attention, arch a quarter step higher, a groomed brow is scaffolding. Everything below it hangs straighter. Above the brows sits the habit hairdressers wish they could prescribe, volume at the crown. When hair lies flat at the crown, the silhouette of the head sinks, and everything beneath it, brows, eyes, cheeks, appears to sink in sympathy. Stylists who work with women over 60 say a flattened crown is the most aging thing they correct in the chair, more than color and more than length. The physics are almost insultingly simple. Strands grow finer with age, so the same haircut that once stood up now lies down, and the fix lives at the root rather than in a new cut. Blast the crown with a dryer while pushing the hair against its natural fall, then let it cool in that position because hair sets its shape as it cools, the way a curl holds after the iron. A dry texture spray helps the lift last. Living Proof's full dry volume blast or a simple Batiste powder spray coats each strand with fine styling resins and starch, which thicken the shaft and create friction between hairs. And friction, in plain terms, means the strands can finally stand on one another's shoulders. 2 Velcro rollers set at the crown while you do your makeup will accomplish that lift without a single product. The mirror test takes 1 second. If the highest point of your hair sits at or below the top of your ears, the crown is pulling the whole picture down. Raise the roofline. The face follows the ceiling. Before we step away from the mirror, one quick aside. The techniques we just covered, the blush diagonal, the raised brow, the lifted crown, all come from the instant lift chapters of our guide, the 30-day anti-aging protocol, 100 ways to look younger in just 30 days. The link is in the description. And for more plain-spoken makeup and skincare guidance after 50, subscribe to Aging Queens. Now come the arrows you wear, and the first one gets styled every morning without ever being called an accessory. Your haircut. Layers that finish at the jaw or the chin point directly at the territory a facelift exists to correct, and every time someone looks at you, the cut escorts their eye straight there. Ask instead for face framing layers that end at the cheekbone, angled back and slightly upward, so the shortest pieces echo the blush diagonal we drew earlier. Stylists call them cheekbone layers or curtain layers, and the request costs nothing extra in the chair. The mechanism is repetition. The eye trusts a line it sees twice, and when the hair, the blush, and the brow all draw the same upward diagonal, the vote starts to look unanimous. Length itself is negotiable, whatever the magazines insisted decades ago. Long hair past 70 works when the weight is thinned and movement is built in, and a short crop works when the perimeter is left soft instead of trimmed helmet sharp. The only rule that never bends is where the lines aim. Colorists add one warning worth keeping. A solid curtain of very dark color absorbs light around the face and deepens every shadow it touches, while a few finer, lighter pieces at the hairline bounce light up onto the cheek the way a reflector works on a photo set. Going blonde is beside the point. The frame just has to send light upward. The haircut is the one cosmetic you put on before you wash your face. Aim it well. From the hair, step to the jewelry box. The earring question is the fastest style decision you will change after today. A long, heavy drop earring is a pendulum beside the jaw. It swings low, it pulls the lobe with real weight, and it draws a vertical line downward right beside the area where skin is already traveling south. Jewelers point out the practical part as well. Decades of wear stretch the piercing, and a heavy drop tilts forward in a softened lobe, which reads as droop even when the earring itself is beautiful. But the moment you know the upward shapes, you see them everywhere. Ear climbers trace the curve of the ear upward like a vine. A substantial stud, a pearl or a knot of gold with real presence, plants a dot of light high beside the eye instead of low beside the jaw. Short drops that end above the jawline keep the movement without the pendulum. Polish matters as much as shape, because a bright metal surface is a tiny mirror, and wherever you hang the mirror is where the light will land. Hang it high and the light lands beside your cheekbone. Stylists mention one more overlooked benefit. Upswept earrings pull attention toward the eyes, and the eyes are the feature that ages most gracefully on nearly every woman, so you are spending attention where the interest is. An earring is an arrow you clip on. Point it up. Follow the earring down and you arrive at the neckline, which decides how much room your jaw appears to have. A tight crew neck or a high snug band sits close under the chin and crowds it, so any softness along the jaw has a shelf to rest on and nowhere to hide. An open neckline does the opposite. A V-neck, an open collar, a soft scoop, each one carves a triangle of vertical space below the face, and vertical space reads as length, and length reads as lift. Stylists who dress women over 60 return to one set of tricks on nearly every shoot. Collars flipped up at the back of the neck, framing the jaw the way short layers frame the cheek. A scarf tied so the ends hang long and vertical down the chest, never wound thick and horizontal at the throat, because a horizontal band of fabric at the neck is a line drawn under the chin in wool. Even a necklace obeys the rule. A pendant ending mid-chest draws one clean vertical line, while a short tight strand circles the neck and visually shortens it. None of this requires a new wardrobe, only a second look at the one you own, with a single question for every top. Does this neckline open the space under my chin or close it? The blouse cannot move your skin an inch, yet it decides how much air your face appears to float in. Give the jaw some sky. If you wear glasses, you are wearing the biggest arrow of all, and this part surprises almost everyone. Frames sit right where a stranger's eye lands first, and opticians describe the top rim of a frame as a second brow, one the face borrows its direction from. A frame whose outer corners tilt upward, a soft cat eye, an upswept brow line style, redraws the upper face a few degrees higher, which repeats the trick the brow gel performed, executed this time in acetate. A round frame that droops at the outer edge, or a heavy rectangle that sits low on the cheek, presses the whole composition downward and parks a shadow on the same plane the blush section just lifted. The fit carries half the mechanism. Frames should sit high on the bridge of the nose instead of sliding to the middle of it, because every bit of frame slides down, the second brow slides down with it, and adjustable nose pads earn their keep on this point alone. The lenses join in as well. Opticians recommend slimmer, anti-reflective lenses for stronger prescriptions, since thick reflective lenses throw stray light into the eye socket and deepen the look of hollows. And if your current frames are more than a decade old, the shape is likely relaxed and widened through years of temple bends, which reads as sag rendered in wire. Replacing them is ordinary maintenance for the most looked-at object you own. Glasses are furniture for the face. Buy the pair with the raised corners. Everything so far goes on in the morning and comes off at night. The next 3 habits work on a slower clock, and they are the reason the whole stack holds from 1 year into the next. Start with retinol, the ingredient dermatologists mention first when women over 60 ask what is still worth starting. Retinol is a form of vitamin A, and once skin converts it, it signals the deeper layers to build fresh collagen and to turn surface cells over on a younger schedule. Translated out of the laboratory, collagen is the mattress spring under the skin, and more of it means edges stay defined, so light stops pooling in the folds beside the mouth and returns to the planes we keep talking about. This is the one habit on today's list that redraws the map underneath all the arrows, but retinol punishes enthusiasm. Mature skin carries a thinner barrier, and a strong retinoid applied nightly to a thin barrier delivers weeks of flaking and redness, which is how so many women come to swear the ingredient off forever. The gentle on-ramp is boring, and it works. Choose the lowest strength on the shelf, Row C Retinol Correction, CeraVe's Skin Renewing Retinol Serum, or Olay Regenerist's Retinol Line, all of which buffer the active inside a cushion of moisturizers. Apply a pea-sized amount to a completely dry face 2 evenings a week, wait a few minutes, and moisturize on top. After a month, move to 3 evenings. For reactive skin, dermatologists suggest the sandwich method: moisturizer first, then retinol, then moisturizer again, which slows the delivery without canceling it. The calendar is the honest part. Collagen rebuilds on a scale of months, so the mirror will whisper before it speaks, usually a calmer texture around week 6 and firmer edges after a full season. Mark a date and judge on that date. And one pairing rule is absolute. Retinol makes skin more sensitive to the sun, so this habit only compounds if the next one is already in place. Which brings us to the least glamorous secret on today's list. Daily sunscreen is the habit with the least sparkle and the most authority behind it. Dermatologists are blunt about sunscreen, in a way they are blunt about almost nothing else. The majority of what we read as facial aging, the loosening, the modeling, the creep, is photoaging, Damage from ultraviolet light collected across perfectly ordinary days, and the evidence comes from comparing sun-exposed skin with protected skin on the same person. Ultraviolet A is the sneak in this story. It passes through window glass, it shows up on gray mornings, and it steadily degrades collagen and elastin, which is why the window side of a lifelong driver's face so often looks years older than the other side. Sunscreen is the only product in the cabinet that protects both the collagen you still have and the collagen your retinol is busy building. Skipping it is paying a contractor to renovate the house while leaving the roof open, and the modern formulas have retired the old excuses. EltaMD's UV Clear is the sheer daily standard dermatologists hand to their most sensitive patients. La Roche-Posay's Anthelios line disappears on most skin without the chalky, cast-the-older formulas trained you to expect, and a tinted mineral version doubles as light coverage, while solving the white film complaint for good. The dose matters more than the brand. 2 finger lengths of broad-spectrum SPF 30 for the face and the neck, every single morning, gray or bright, errand day or garden day, with a fresh layer before a long afternoon outside. Bring it down the neck and across the chest as well, because the jaw we keep discussing borrows its backdrop from the skin below it. Sunscreen will never trend, and it offers no counter-theater. The payoff arrives a decade from now, as the difference between a face that held and a face that kept sliding. The cheapest lift is the one you never lose. Now for the habit that works in minutes instead of months. A short facial massage in the morning is the closest thing on this list to an instant effect, and it is upfront about being temporary. Overnight, lymphatic fluid settles in the face, most visibly around the eyes and along the jaw, which is why a face at 7 in the morning can look heavier than the same face looks at noon. The lymphatic system has no pump of its own. It moves when muscles move and when hands move it. And that is where the massage earns its slot in the stack. Aestheticians teach one basic choreography, whether the tool is a gua sha stone, the back of a cool spoon, or your own knuckles. Apply a face oil or a balm first, because slip is what separates massage from tugging. And tugging is the one way to make this habit cost more than it pays. Work from the center of the face outward, then always finish downward along the sides of the neck, sweeping from under the ears toward the collarbone, because that is the drain the fluid actually uses. Under the eyes, press gently from the inner corner outward. Along the jaw, glide from the chin up toward the ear. 5 minutes is plenty. The result is a genuine deflation, cheekbones surfacing, the jawline drawn a touch cleaner, and aestheticians are careful to say the effect lasts hours rather than days, since it moves fluid rather than lifting muscle. That honesty is why we trust it. The technique claims little and delivers just what it claims, every morning for the price of 2 clean hands. On the day of the wedding, the reunion, or the portrait, this is the habit you will be glad lives in your fingers. Deflate first, then paint. The last habit costs nothing, travels everywhere with you, and physical therapists insist it changes a face faster than anything sold in a jar. Posture, and specifically the forward head position that decades of desks, steering wheels, and phones train into nearly all of us. When the head drifts forward of the shoulders, the soft tissue under the chin compresses and folds, the jawline loses its border with the neck, and the chin dips toward the chest, which tips the whole face down into its own shadow. Photographers correct this on every mature client with a single cue, and you can feel it work in a single breath. Picture a thread running from the crown of your head to the ceiling. Let it draw you tall. Then glide the chin back and level, as if you were presenting your jaw to a camera across the room. The area under the chin tightens instantly because you have physically unstacked it. The neck lengthens. The shoulders settle down and back, and every open neckline from the wardrobe section suddenly hangs the way it hung on the mannequin. There is a lighting bonus hiding inside this habit as well. A level chin catches the overhead light on the front of the face, while a drop chin catches it on the forehead and casts the eyes and mouth into shade. Same room, same bulbs, different face. The wall drill builds the habit into the body. Stand with your heels, hips, and shoulder blades against a wall, then bring the back of your head to the wall without lifting your chin. Hold it while the kettle boils, once in the morning and once at night. That position is the lift, free of charge, available at every dinner table and inside every photograph for the rest of your life. Surgeons move tissue. Posture moves the whole frame. So let us stand back and name what all 13 habits share, because the principle is the thing you can carry out of this video and into any aisle of any store. Every choice on today's list either sends light and line upward or stops, sending them down. Blush, drawn to the temple. Shadow held short and high. A satin finish that keeps light on the planes. A brow tail restored and a crown raised. Layers aimed at the cheekbone. An earring that climbs. A neckline that opens. A frame with lifted corners. Skin kept firm by Retinol, defended by Sunscreen, deflated by 5 morning minutes of massage, and carried on a level chin. Not one of these would convince anyone on its own. Together, they do something better than convincing. They agree. And when every signal on a face agrees, a stranger's eye stops auditing individual features and files, the whole impression is rested, open, and lifted. That is what people are really seeing on the woman at the family reunion, a unanimous face. What she has is 13 small votes, cast every morning and counted by every eye she meets. The stack is the facelift. If 13 habits sounds like a lot, that is why we wrote the 30-day anti-aging protocol, 100 ways to look younger in just 30 days. It walks women over 50 through one short lesson and one action step a day, closing with a final week devoted to confidence. Scan the code on your screen, then subscribe to Aging Queens for honest guidance on makeup and skincare after 50. Now it is your turn. Of the 13 arrows we walked through today, which one goes into your stack first tomorrow morning? Tell us in the comments, because your answers decide the routines we break down next, and we read every single one. Until next time, keep your light high and your chin level.